Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Jay here. Just wanted to try out something new. So, even though this is pre recorded, we're not going to edit this. This won't be a polished video. I just wanted to come in and give a couple updates, test out a new medium, something that we can hopefully make a little bit more frequent for our channel and for all of our supporters and friends and community alike. Before we get going, I want to make sure that we establish that this is a place for all those who seek community. As many times as we'll address heavy topics and insist on this being safe, inclusive, friendly, and welcoming to all genuine people from every facet of life, we also need to feel free to be goofy. Right? It's not nothing to express yourself. Right? Let what others call foolishness be your truth or your joy or catharsis. Some of this mess is just to make sure that folks know we're still here. And I am blessed to be your OG as always, Jay, aka Futon, aka Poppy Two Tops after a round or two. I like Fig Newtons and long walks across America. I think cats should be named after nouns, and dogs should never have their birth name said outside of veterinary clinics. So I want to get right into this, right? The purpose of this video is to, again, give you updates, give you some insight on what's going on, communicate what's happening on our side of things. So, for those who don't know, I have walked across America with my brother and taken part in 3 tours after to talk about mental health, community development, and human trafficking. Mostly human trafficking has been our focus, but as we've expanded and grown and developed our own personal identity away from many organizations who we partnered with and still love and would love to continue to support today, we really needed to have something that encapsulated an independent idea and something that allowed us to expand out of specific interests. And so again, walked across America, biked across America. We're about to do it one more time. At least I am. So what we're looking at now is a tour, cycling tour with an accompaniment of those who are specializing in other areas. So we have a support vehicle, but inside the support vehicle are going to be 3 other individuals purposed with their own interests. So we have an author who will be sharing their brilliant stories and poetry. We have a dungeon master who is going to entertain and really open up communities in a bunch of one-shots. And we have this really cool dude who's going to come out, and he's just seeking the adventure, just looking for something new. And that's a beautiful place to start. Another thing is these videos are to help me practice speaking. In the time that I've been away from the active on the road travels, I've spoken far less. So imagine going from speaking to maybe 40,000 people a year to maybe speaking to the cat. Also, in addition to the announcements, some accountability, because 1, you always need it. 2, there's a record. And 3, as long as it's said, there's so much more obligation, but also incentive to fulfill some of these goals. And maybe in something we say, hopefully there's an audience who needs to hear it. So from where we've been since I last posted, I'm still working as an extreme biohazard cleaner, crime scenes, hoarding houses, homicide, suicide, any sort of spills. Other than that, prepping for the 75 hard challenge with our next and last, my personal last tour, beginning this August. I have to really get in shape, and boy, it has been an uphill battle getting back to not being in shape for tour, but just being ready to go. And other than that, I'm just dreading my next doctor's appointment, because I know they're going to say the same thing they said last time. There's no way you're going to make it. This is a really tall task. And, what else could you be, doing better? But aside from all that, I feel like I have this purpose or this burden. And I don't know if it's something that I'm projecting on myself, or it's some sort of inspired thing, or something that's been, assigned to me from, that which is greater than myself. And so the most immediate goal is to educate specifically like youth and young adults on the prevalent of like depression in their communities and engage them in activism and encourage them to begin their own projects, which is co-opted as a treatment for mental health. It's presented in my TEDx. Little plug there, and we want to catalyze that interest and direct it towards methods of fighting, those issues, like networking individuals to local organizations. Ongoing, we're looking to raise funds to provide resources or to make accessible, those things to those in need. And for long term, the goal is to operate a self-sustaining community building / facility, which, again, dream scenario. I'm able to buy out my boss. We use that under the nonprofit to just make, like I said, a self-sustaining wheel. We'll disclose more of what that looks like in due time. And, our method has been the same as it has been since day one, right? To speak with individuals throughout the day, instigate conversations when we're resting, and then engage whenever there's an inquiry on our signs, our jerseys, or just like the odd collection of us that'll be together for this. Because, boy, let me tell you, wildly different people, lovely community, families who you choose, and we've chosen the best here in this final run. So we're going to organize meetings with like national, local, and some international organizations, and speak on mental health and communal wellness, and learn what it looks like in that area, and then connect local encounters again to those above individuals and groups, and then we share our work, the people that we've partnered with, who we'll get into another time, and their history, and additionally, of course, we'll distribute T-shirts and books and jerseys and merch, just things to remind people of who we are. So here comes the but. And because this is YouTube, let's just make sure we keep it appropriate. These are all the things I want to do and accomplish. And I don't have a dream for after. And so what happens if these unlikely things, actually occur? And then I realized, is it something I'm afraid of? Because I was asked recently what I'm most afraid of, and it's easy. What happens if I do it? Or the argument could be made that I'm afraid of success, and that can't be true because I'm ego-driven. I require accolades and besting challenges to make the day worthwhile. And even in my job, one of the most fulfilling things is to see these massive issues, and then to correct them, and then to clear up messes, or to restore a home to a place that's safe to enter. But there's some measurable amount of success that I can achieve in each day. And so really it's as simple as it was said. What happens if I do it? What happens if I fulfill my purpose? What happens if I'm finally happy? Or worse, what if this doesn't make me happy? What happens if the pages don't fill up and the pen goes out of ink? For a while I was afraid that I missed my shot at immortality. And I sometimes think, and I wonder if it's dramatic or, selfish, to say, had I died while Shannon and I set out 12 years ago on that first trip, would I become a symbol versus being a relic? Had I passed then, would more people have engaged because that memorial rush or that inspiration is there because you gave it everything? And now I'm standing on the other side of everything, and maybe it wasn't enough, maybe it wasn't right. I just don't know. I don't know what happens when you outlive your chance at immortality. And I don't know if it's okay to say, that's it. In terms of fear, there's I think it's Plato. It's we could easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. And I wish I was, more afraid of dying. I have no concern with that. And for a long time, I was only afraid of failing because that's something you live with and have to account for and stand in the light, to be seen as you are. Now, genuinely, I'm just concerned with the other side of all of this. A year ago, I asked myself, I asked in general, like, does it get better? I don't think I'm in a better place than I was a year ago. Right, still just living end to end, still not able to help as many folks as I could before, still contending with some ongoing health issues. Like, I'm not willing to enter any purposeful relationship. I haven't figured out if it's damage from the last relationship or fear of another health scare and needing as few personal connections should I need to just go wander into the woods. But this is the purpose of the documentary. Oh, by the way, actually, let me finish this sentence and then I'll get there because I'll never finish this one otherwise. It's the purpose of the documentary tour and the exploration of these different types of therapies is to give me like really the best chance. So the documentary, we're going to be recording a lot of life that happens in these interim parts just to kind of see and have an account for what's happening. Maybe get some semblance of an idea of how things are going and if there's a better path out, if I've chosen the best path, if I'm right in navigating the way that I have. But we're going to tell our stories. We're going to at least have our stories set. And, whether it's some sort of consolation for my mother, should she want to watch more of her son since I'm not always around. If there's a friend or, a love out there who thinks that maybe, they can get some sort of answer or conclusion or context for what's happening with me, that's there. But the documentary is going to be exploring not just our literal journey across the country, but the metaphorical journey, to wellness, and just seeing how we progress through. It's going to expose a lot of people to new types of therapy, which I'm a huge fan of because I've never done like equine therapy. Group therapy's never been my thing. I would love to be able to sit down with a doctor and talk about what like ketamine therapy or any sort of any sort of wow, drawing a blank here, and anything like that. There's several different the ECT therapy, the electroconvulsive therapy. I'd love to explore those as options, and then maybe find out if this is even a solution. Is the therapy that I'm doing now the appropriate therapy that I should have had all this time? Is something that are the things that I'm staring down really, giants in the distance, or are they just windmills? And so that's what we're doing here. So I guess we'll see. And so I want to say thank you. If you got this far, if you skipped a bit earlier or just clicked in and clicked out, as we navigate this platform and commit to a schedule and prepare for the tour, we hope to do better and better by you. So, thank you, and thank you again. And we don't say goodbye here because that's too permanent. So, until next time.